So 10 o'clock in the morning, misty, foggy morning. Just do a small walk around. This is our little extension, addition to the existing garden. I got some onion seed yesterday, I planted it. They're not doing too bad. Some peas there. Not gonna get peas, it's a little chilly for that. A little bit of parsley. Parsley. This is onion bulbs. I'm losing some to the chickens, and the crows are getting some of my... I don't know if they're eating the garlic either. I know they're between the chickens and the crows. And some kale. That I never, in this little patch, I never had the time to transplant it. That's the first stuff I transplanted. I planted 2 rows of kale, this row and that row. And I transplanted out these 3 rows, this 2 rows, another row over there. I didn't have time to transplant it, so it's really thick. I'm going to try and cut it, feed it to the chickens. I don't know whether I should just transplant it, despite it being almost December. The little extension on our existing bed there makes we just raked all the leaves off the grass and off that roadway, which was few, and added there. We'll chip it eventually. Little pathway here. This is the other little extension here. All we got done last year was to about here. You can see kind of this is garlic. And I'm sick and tired of my edge drying out, so I do get about a cubic meter and a half of sawdust every month. It's not really got much good for anything, but I put it here just to keep the edge moist from drying out. Not moist, you know what I'm saying. This was our little station here, water and food for the pigs and chickens a few days ago, but they've kind of moved on. More garlic here. Those are the onions. Just like those ones you saw first. They're onions. Green onions. Non-saleable. I just shove them in the ground. And they grow. This is so that's a new bed on that side. And then this little whole area. I did about, from where you see it, from the chicken fence there, to just a little bit on the other side of those trees last fall. Mulched it nice and looked at it this spring. I thought I had some real good soil, and I ran the chickens through here and they pawed through it. Got some worms out of it, got some, you know, the whole story about them being rehab chickens and stuff. They couldn't do much. And then I had the bright idea, it was too thick, and I had the opportunity to spread it out. So I spread it out about maybe 1/3 wider, and I just made it too thin. You know, planted stuff, got to cover with living plants, but never actually remulched it again. So it was too thin. So I established where the road is, which involves a little extension on this side of that patch, the corn patch, which we'll see later maybe. And then built that bed, filled that in to about the height, and then added, 4-6 inches here on this, on top of that good stuff. What we had was good stuff, but it was just too thin. It has to be, when you go down through it, down underneath it, you can follow every contour of the old soil. It's just hard as rock still. We've made good soil here, but we haven't impacted the hard clay underneath it. You can hit every tree root, every little brush, little twig, that was sticking up, and the grass is all dead and whatever. And it's just hard as clay can be. So in a year or two we'll impact that, I'm sure. But right now, it's just too thin. It was just too thin. So we're ready to chip this. We're just waiting for these leaves to fall. It's not all of them are going to fall. Get a nice little extra treat of leaves on top of the manure. Here's our chickens. Some of them are laying eggs, some of them are eating grain, some of them are scratching, some of them are resting. Some of them are just out for a stroll. So yeah, the point of this, I guess, is to last year I went through a lot of hoops to get the neighbor's corn. I never did get the immediate neighbor's corn here. This was all corn this year. I showed him the shredder, my buddy Dennis, and he got it shredded. So there was no corn to get. They burnt it. They burnt it for the 60, 70 years previous. They've never shredded it until now. The guy's 82, so the first 70, 65 years of his life he shredded. He burnt the corn, sent it up in the air and lost it. Now on the other side of those people, there's two brothers, as I understand it. This fella here came over. He speaks a little English, so I was able to decipher some things. He's been hired to bundle. They picked the corn a couple days ago, and the guy cut it down amazingly with a weed whacker instead of just taking a hoe and cutting it. But they have 4 pigs apparently, and they grow this corn to feed their pigs. And they say they have too much corn stalks, refuse, trash, what people call trash. So they've hired him to bundle it all up, and he's offered to carry it over to a little area where I've designated that he can pile it. So it's the best deal on corn stalks I've ever had. If I had the engine and the Panoni, I'd help the poor fella out. I wouldn't drive the car across this back and forth. It's just not worth the damage you would cause. I need two or three loads to finish there. I'm just waiting, for either to dry out or to freeze up, which neither may happen. Neither may happen. Some more garlic here. And my same sort of thing here. This bed was only about as wide as that pile of grass, you see, which is but it was high. I said, oh, it's too deep, it's too deep, it's too deep. So I spread it out to the road right there, and and it is actually a little bit too thin, but had beautiful. I piled up corn stalks from all over and Christmas trees here and blew it right into place. Raked a little bit to level it out and stuff. It was really thick, and it just made some really beautiful soil. But here it's just very thin at this end because of the lay of the land. But I planted it garlic, so we'll see. Might just give it another little mulching. So that I took some away, but that again, it was too wet here to get the vehicle in to take it somewhere. I don't really have a use for it right now, so I just stockpiled it right there, planted around it, and covered it with grass to keep the biology alive over the winter. And this was my little wood pile. This bed eventually will get extended, so we'll pile up crap here, and it kills the grass, and the beautiful place. It's like mulch, 3 foot or 2 foot, a foot and a half, whatever, of piled up logs is beautiful mulch. The worms and stuff just love it underneath there. But now they've got all this corn, they're going to come. I just squared that off with some cardboard and told them to pile it up there. And, he's actually going to carry it, he says, by hand, back and forth, like one little trip, an armload at a time. Poor guy. This is the 93. After it was shredded for only the second time, eh? This old tree provides a lot of leaves. Not enough. People might call me crazy, but I can haul leaves into the forest if I had the time. There's enough leaves around. Leaves sitting on the street everywhere. People bag it up for you. All you have to do is get it. I stopped for leaves once and I got these coniferous trimmings. So we just threw them here. Got to do a little work here. Dennis can only do so much with his little tractor. Might get the chickens in here this fall, this winter, whatever you call it, I don't know. Very, very rarely below freezing. I can't really call it winter. The long range forecast has one day projected to be a low of -5. Most of it's hovering around 0 or above, well above 0. You know, 5, 10 degrees. That's, you can grow stuff in 5 or 10 degrees. So once, yeah, I guess once we get the corn patch done, I guess this will be our next deal. This is our back 40, we called it. I called it. I'm just gonna have 2 rows of fruit trees here, quite a ways from the property line. I can see my Torma, horseradish there. The willow was a fail at the back there because of that whole edge effect. It just drops away, and I tried to plant there. It just, the property line is, you know, in fact, you know, legal. I could enforce them to. This is just silliness. They need to pile up their junk. All this trash, they need to pile it. I'd love to pile up the corn stalks right there, for example, just to keep that from drying out. And we could. That's basically a property. Their corner, which is our line, and that's another corner. Our corner is a little bit this side of it. I don't know if it makes any sense. This is actually the property line runs out this way. And that's their property line corner. So the two of them make a line. I don't know. Basically, this is our property. This is Leos Bocce's property. And this is their property, both feet. And then this is Leos Bocce, and that's us over there, 93. But it all forms one straight property line down there. So you see how it's falling away. I don't even have all my land. Just, you know, we're talking about inches. But then, you know, it makes the whole, even the Torma is pushing it a little bit. That's about where you start getting usable land, and then you try to mulch here, it falls over and whatever. Like they need to fill that in. Give me it back. Or build a fence, build a cement wall there or whatever, and then you could actually deal with it. So the point is, row of fruit trees here, mulch this. This was a big mess, of course, like everything else. People have been throwing stuff here for centuries. And it's probably the best land on the whole property. So we're, you know, I'll just bring the chips to maybe do about here. Just outside of this row of trees. And we're trying to kind of, not level it, but smooth it out. You can see it's just this and that. And then I run pig through here in the spring maybe, and in the fall before I plant, and then after I harvest. And the chickens. Just to this tree, we'll have a row of trees here. We'll have to go around with a fence and that, whatever, but it's just only one. So, and then, you know, it'll collapse and whatever, and then we'll do it again, and then eventually we may chip it all. It'll be all squash again, twice as big as it was last year.